Story 1. I was on a late-night excursion, passing through a forlorn stretch of parkway. The gas measure in my vehicle had been playing with E for a significant distance, and I was starting to overreact. At long last, I detected a glimmering service station sign somewhere out there, similar to an encouraging sign. It was an old, overview place, however you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. As I maneuvered into the faintly lit service station, I was unable to shake the inclination that something was off. The humming of the neon lights above caused the entire spot to feel strange, practically like I'd ventured into a scene from a thriller. Be that as it may, while focusing on no different choices, I escaped the vehicle and moved toward the siphon. The main other vehicle at the station was a beat-up pickup truck. A messy figure remained next to it, siphoning gas into his tank. He had a wild, unkempt facial hair and worn-out dress that held tight his slender casing. I made an effort not to visually engage as I swiped my card at the siphon, however I could feel his look on me. As the gas streamed into my tank, I really wanted to take looks at the man. He didn't seem to be your regular voyager. His eyes were depressed, and his skin was a wiped-out pale tone. He mumbled to himself in a low, throaty voice, making it difficult to recognize what he was talking about. My heart beat in my chest as I claimed to really look at my telephone, expecting to stay away from any communication. Be that as it may, the man suddenly left his siphon and rearranged over to me. I could see the soil under his fingernails and smell a disgusting combination of sweat and something more evil. "Hi, stranger," he muttered, his breath weighty with the odor of liquor. "You got any loose coinage?" I mishandled for words, my senses shouting at me to be wary. I offered a well-mannered yet firm no and turned my consideration back to my service station. His reaction was disrupting. He ventured nearer, attacking my own space. His expanded eyes bore into mine, and he connected a disgusting hand, crawls from my face. "You sure about that, mate? I could utilize a little assistance." A dot of sweat streamed down my sanctuary as I mumbled something about waiting be coming. I realized I expected to get done with siphoning gas and departure this unusual experience. However, the man wasn't having it. With an unexpected jerk, he snatched my arm, his grasp major areas of strength for shockingly. Alarm flooded through me as I yanked my arm away, staggering in reverse. "Give up," I requested, my voice shuddering. His face bent into an unusual smile, uncovering missing teeth. "You're staying put." I darted back to my vehicle, my heart beating. As I closed the entryway and locked it, I saw the man drawing nearer, a frenzied search in his eyes. He beat on the window, shouting incongruously. I could feel the vehicle shaking from his attack. I sped out of the service station, the man's vile chuckling reverberating in my ears as I left him in the rearview reflect. My hands shuddered on the guiding wheel, and I realized I had barely gotten away from a terrible experience. That corner store, that man, everything felt like something out of a blood and gore film. I will always remember that evening, and I won't ever take a refueling break at a problematic corner store for conceited once more. Story 2. Late one evening, I was working my typical shift at a service station in a barren area of town. The delicate murmur of the glaring lights above gave the main wellspring of solace in the frightful obscurity. My heart hustled as I looked at the clock, acknowledging I had a few additional hours to go. It was during that shift that I encountered a loathsomeness that actually tormented me right up till now. The corner store was shockingly calm, and an intermittent sound of a vehicle passing by simply uplifted my feeling of separation. I had sunk into my standard daily practice, restocking racks and attempting to remain conscious, when the chime over the entryway jingled delicately. A man had entered, his face darkened by the hood of his worn-out coat. He was by all accounts in his mid-30s, with messy beard growth and a quality of disquiet about him. I welcomed him with a respectful grin, however my senses advised me to be careful. He meandered the passageways for what felt like an unending length of time, looking at different things however never really choosing anything. My disquiet developed as I watched him, and I started to contemplate whether he had sick expectations. My hand laid on the emergency signal under the counter, prepared to call help if necessary. At last, he moved toward the counter with a solitary confection close by. He put it on the counter and gazed at me, his eyes unnervingly extreme. I filtered the piece of candy and let him know the aggregate. He ventured into his pocket and took out a roll of folded bills. My disquiet developed as he mishandled with the cash, dropping some on the floor. As I twisted down to get the fallen bills, I saw something upsetting. The man had a blade gotten into his belt, somewhat covered by his coat. Alarm flooded through me, and my brain dashed as I thought about how to deal with the circumstance. I finished the exchange as fast as could be expected, my hands shudder. The man took the piece of candy and left without a word, his hood actually hiding his face. I was feeling better that he was gone, however the feeling of fear remained. Hours passed, and I was unable to shake the sensation of being watched. Each time a vehicle maneuvered into the station, I felt a flood of uneasiness, expecting that the man could return. As the night delayed, my brain pulled pranks on me. Shadows appeared to continue all alone, and the delicate stirring of the breeze outside seemed as though murmurs. I checked the surveillance cameras more than once, looking for any indication of the man. It was the point at which I looked at the screen that I saw him once more, standing just past the scope of the cameras, looking straight at the service station. My heart beat in my chest as I understood he was watching me. Scared, I called the police and made sense of the circumstance, portraying the man's appearance and the blade I had seen. They guaranteed me they were coming and taught me to lock the entryways and remain behind the counter. I held up in fear, my eyes stuck to the surveillance camera feed. Minutes felt like hours, and I petitioned God for the police to show up. At last, I heard the sound of alarms drawing closer, and the man outside probably heard them as well. He vanished into the dimness, letting me be unshaken. At the point when the police showed up, they looked through the area, however tracked down no hint of the man. They took my assertion and vowed to increment watches nearby. As they left, I felt a combination of help and waiting trepidation. That evening, I understood exactly the way in which weak I was during those late night shifts. The memory of the man with the blade and the sensation of being observed still torment me, filling in as a chilling sign of the risks that can prowl in the haziness, just past the well-being of the service station's bright lights. Story 3. A couple of years prior, I encountered something that actually tormented me right up till now. It was a chilling experience that occurred at a remote service station on a dim and devastated expressway. I was driving alone on a long excursion, going to a family gathering. It was late, and the gas check was playing with void, so I chose to maneuver into the main corner store around for a significant distance. The spot was an overview, decrepit foundation, apparently immaculate by time. Corroded signs squeaked in the breeze, and the gleaming glaring lights hummed above. There could have been not a single different vehicles to be seen, which ought to have been a warning, yet my gas tank was practically completely dry. I left at one of the old, battered siphons and got out of my vehicle. A bone-chilling whirlwind hit me like a cargo train, and I shuddered as I filled my tank. That is the point at which I originally saw him. He was remaining close to the entry, resting up against a spray painting covered wall. His appearance was agitating. Clad in a worn-out overcoat, he appeared to be awkward in this remote setting. His face was clouded by a wide overflowed cap, creating a shaded area over his eyes. I was unable to make out his highlights, however something about him creeped me out. As I went inside to pay, I couldn't resist the opportunity to look back at him. He hadn't moved an inch. The clerk was a fragile, old lady who looked at me through thick glasses. She appeared to be similarly awkward with the presence of the man outside. At the point when I got some information about him, her eyes enlarged with dread. She cautioned me in a quieted tone to be wary, to avoid him. Obviously she knew something I didn't. Disquiet distressed me as I left the corner store, the corroded ring of the entryway flagging my exit. The man was still there, yet presently he was standing nearer to my vehicle. I stimulated my speed, my heart beating in my chest. I locked the vehicle entryways and turned over the motor, never taking my eyes off him. As I pulled out of the station, he started to follow me. Alarm flooded through my veins. I turned onto the dull expressway, my headlights penetrating the inky darkness. He limped along, his old vehicle shaking inauspiciously. The vacant street extended on for a significant distance, and there was never a way out in sight. I was unable to shake the inclination that this man implied me hurt. I dialed 911, my voice shudder as I made sense of the circumstance for the administrator. They guaranteed me that the police were coming, yet I actually needed to continue to drive. The man's vehicle crept nearer, and my brain dashed with contemplations of brake. At long last, I detected a rest region up ahead. I steered into the parking garage, tires shrieking, and my heart sank when I saw that it, as well, was abandoned. In any case, I had no way out. I needed to confront this man. He maneuvered into the rest region behind me and escaped his vehicle. I locked mine and lowered the window somewhat, preparing for awful. The shocking breeze wailed as he drew closer, and he lifted a gloved hand to offer his appreciation. His voice was blunt and loaded up with noxiousness. "No doubt about it," he murmured, then withdrew to his vehicle and hurried away into the obscurity. The police showed up soon after, taking my articulation and looking through the area. They couldn't track down the man or his vehicle. Right up till now, I wonder what his identity was and what his goals genuinely were. The service station shocking tale turned into an unpleasant memory, a sign of the obscurity that can hide in the most surprising spots.